Alright, welcome everyone to our opening attack and defense tesuji class. Many of you have probably noticed this shape doesn't appear very often nowadays, right? After these three stones complete the joseki, they're very easy to exploit. Yes, this is exactly why it was phased out, but around 1Q level students sometimes still play it. Because for lower rank amateur players, so some students tend to forget after all, this opening was the standard joseki for many years. But it's been phased out now. Phased out. So for example, if the opponent plays into this shape, how do we respond? Now, if you encounter the opponent playing this position, how do we exploit their to space extension? I'll give you a few options. Today we're here to explain why White's second line jump was phased out. It's because Black has a very profitable technique, so White was no longer happy playing this way. Alright, let me explain. They all exist, for example, when you want outward influence. But right now, this isn't quite appropriate. Because White already has a stone waiting here. Or even if you play your best here, the territory enclosed is very limited. The bump and the probe are what we'll cover. The probe back when White's joseki hadn't yet been phased out. This probe was the most common choice. The old line was to cut directly and exploit. Think about whether this Atari works. If not, give me an X. "20, 21 including the teacher. When you connect, they come out from this side. But Black can connect. Are already captured. At this point, White if outward influence isn't particularly needed, The two sides exchange. If I play here, we need to choose based on the actual game context. This is the old line of play. But now black has found something even stronger. First, when you probe. After white presses, you crawl back, and white's group has no life, even if white reinforces once. ... It may look less isolated. Your black stones here are already very thick. Has basically disappeared. So pressing from above. Basically white can only block here. Blocking is necessary. Now black has a better option, the diagonal kick. After the diagonal kick, white now appears to have two choices. Three. Actually, let me give you three options. If you were white and saw black's diagonal kick here, would you choose to block? Getting this wrong is completely normal. Which one would you go with? 13, 21 times up. Yes, that's rather a lot of hints, quite a lot. To start, first of all, it helps white build a solid head. Normally in the endgame, if you block here, white needs to reinforce, right? In fact, where white is thin, we can even cut in. White blocks. When white connects, black bursts out. White extends out. Getting Hain turns it into a losing position. Black first presses out. Wait for white to extend, then cut. You have more liberties than white's to stones. If a ko develops, don't worry, take the ko first. And, if you lose the ko, white is completely dead. If white connects, black connects too. White is now split into two isolated groups. If one side dies, black comes out ahead, so extending doesn't work. What if white squeezes? How would you respond? This Atari is probably the most aggressive and forceful. So white has failed again. If white wants to reconnect. If white wants to reconnect. Then black plays Atari. At this point black plays Atari above. If white extends, black comes out. Collapses because the corner group can't live. White might just resign after this, so white can only reconnect through sacrifice, reconnecting home this way. It's still very large indeed. This becomes a unified outward wall. Let me go through it again. Because white has a solid base, but we can profit from them. Here's what happens. White, in order to reconnect. In this kind of position. The variation after the probe. That's fine, let me show it once more. Then when white plays here, is forced to sacrifice, making you very thick. So earlier, teacher gave you 3 options, right? Why do I call this the updated version? Because the older version of this variation also existed. After white's exchange, ... in the old version. Then capture the stone at the bottom. That was the old variation. But now black has found something better. Why doesn't black play the Hane? Actually, in this capturing race, black wins. White dies on the outside. White dies on the outside. Black wins the capturing race. Because white has a strong counter move before white cuts. How can white reduce black's liberties? White will have more liberties than black. Both prevent the opponent from connecting. Reduce the opponent's liberties. This is a calculation problem. Teacher did hint at this verbally just now, when teaching life and death and in class. Throw-ins and wedges reduce the opponent's liberties. All throw-ins and wedges, ... as long as they don't give the opponent an eye, reduce the opponent's liberties. This becomes a co-fight. And in this co, the position is heavy for black. You end up captured like this. This co is bad for black, because how can white find a co-threat here? Even if you find one move. Black captures some stones. So remember the method, not every individual move. Remember the principle, not each specific step. Because the specific position varies, liberty counts will differ. If black connects, white becomes extremely thick. But with our updated line, ... in the updated version, because the cut gains more for black. After the cut, where did black play? You might not remember what teacher said before I showed the diagonal kick. whether white's Atari worked, right? Who remembers where black played? Black's updated technique combines the two previous methods together. The profit has directly doubled. Do you still remember this moment? Let's compare this with the earlier diagram. Aren't moves 1 and 2 now exchanged? We couldn't capture those triangled stones before, but now we can capture the triangled stones. Much better than before, right? Because white needs one extra move to reconnect. Because white was already safe. White goes wherever it wants. Understand? This is the whole point of the diagonal kick. If you block, I can escape. If you extend, I cut and gain advantage. Over 15 points because this relates to future play. It makes your cut invalid. They can't go home, see? It prevents black from profiting on both sides. I went ahead and included it. So what if white counterattacks here? Then black can. How do you respond in actual play? Actually, I already showed this once at the very beginning. You said it wasn't and even marked it wrong, do you remember? Maybe it's viable now. White thought so. White tried it. White can take your 2 stones. Look, the entire corner is dead. What a huge corner that is. Watch if I apply the per stone counting method. And then remove black's 3 stones. White's solid territory loss is enormous. Black falls apart. White has no counterattack. The only option white has is to abandon the stones. So to avoid being cut through again like this, then black simply descends. Now I'm going to ask again a question I just covered. Remember the wedge? And when white plays here, compared to the bigger ko from before, white not only gives up less, and that's about it. All because those 3 stones left a weakness. Alright, now, let me walk you through the variation I just covered. Black has gained a second windfall. Without going for outward influence. After the capture, you'll see. Because without this Atari, that Atari doesn't work. Dan Lee, you didn't seal white in. The move order has to be right. we still have quite a few students. The mistakes made were of all different kinds. The most common mistake. Just now, some students still played the Atari from here. Both of these are correct, so next, whichever triangle you choose is fine. If you want solid territory, you have nothing else. Then blocking or capturing both work. One more thing, if you want to build outward influence. Yes, a student played this. Retreating is goat, after all. Then some students started by attaching. Alright, let's run through it one more time from here. 2, 1, time's up. Let me give you a final summary. If white pushes after the probe, we crawl back and that's already a gain. This way, black can only gain in one place. If white makes a mistake and plays the block, we play the diagonal kick, and to survive, just cut through. Black can then choose outward influence or choose solid territory. The initiative is in black's hands. I just saw a student play here during the exercise. White dies outright. So white is even worse off.